My name is Bruno Edgard. Welcome this morning, and this morning we are talking about the environment, the visible impact of environmental pollution. Yes, we have to keep reminding ourselves, getting sensitized on this big topic, because our environment feeds us, our environment gives us life, and so we have to protect the environment as well. So we're going to understand what the effects of environmental pollution are. And to have this discussion with me today is Mr. Erisa Weraga Kigundu, who is an environmentalist. Welcome to Issues at Hand this morning.
Thank you very much.
Now, it must be a tough time for you and many environmentalists out there, seeing that we are currently mourning the loss of Paul Semogere, who was chief environmentalist. So how does that make you feel, and how are you coping with mourning the loss?
Thank you very much. Morning to our listeners and viewers. It is a very destabilizing moment for losing such a politician who is really on heart has been caring for the environment. And I was yesterday, I've left the book of the Buyer of the Service at Weraga, but in it I can read the words from the book, and they said that in his life, personal life, because you might say the words are coming, but yeah, he bought a full forest and he called it Kawanga Forest, because Kawanga Forest Reserve in Kalangala, because he had seen that all the forests have been taken up by human activity and economic lineage of the government. And so they were no longer caring for, no one is caring for the environment anymore when it comes to economics. The priority is financial gain. So the island Kalangala was one of the islands which is providing rainfall for the whole of central Uganda, the forests. But they are now completely finished and cultivated with palm trees. So, as an environmentalist, Kawanga Paulo Semogere went and bought about 700 acres and started planting a forest for environment conservation. That is how concerned he was about the environment. And I think it is very obvious that every politician, his first aim should be to care for the environment. If it is not his number one priority, he's not a good politician. I don't know whether it is because of the color green of DP, which made him think about the environment so much. But we miss him too much. And we are going to bury him in Nkumba today at 2. Thank you very much, thank you very much, Bruno.
Well, may his soul rest in eternal peace, and may we learn from him and continue to protect our environment so that we have a better tomorrow, and so that future generation can enjoy the benefits of the environment that we have now. And on this discussion of environmental pollution, so much has been said, and sometimes the importance of certain key terms can get lost to us. And so I'd like you to first break it down for us. When we talk about the environment, what exactly do we mean? What is the environment?
Environment, let us be specific. Environment is where human beings live and get the resources for living. Is where human beings live and get the resources for living.
assessing the impact of environmental pollution. And our guest, who is Mr. Erisa Weraga Kigundu, an environmentalist, was still telling us about what we mean by the environment, the definition of the environment. And we can continue from there, Mr. Kigundu.
Environment, in very simple terms, everyone knows what environment is. Some people, even to tell them what environment is, and they pretend they don't know. Everybody knows that the natural surroundings in which we live and get our resources for survival is the environment. The natural surroundings which God created. After the 7 days, He had created the earth, plants, trees, animals, and then human being. He created human being. That's what God created. The natural environment is where the natural surroundings in which human beings live is the environment.
All right.
Yes.
So, and it was created by God. It's important to remember that fact, because we need to be good stewards of what God has given us. So, now that we understand what the environment is, we also understand that there is a big problem when it comes to environmental degradation. And environmental degradation, which causes climate change. If you might be thinking climate change is not real, look at the flooding that's happening in certain parts of this country. It's affecting lives. People are losing lives. People are losing property. And that is one of the results of environmental pollution. But something that causes environmental degradation and pollution here in this country especially is human activity. So what human activities affect the environment, and how do these activities affect our environment?
The human activities. First of all, as I've told you, God created the environment very fit for human nature to enjoy his life. In fact, in the beginning, it was fruits, very nice fruits. You remember the garden? It was full of ripe bananas, full of trees. Animals were running around. After the 7 days, he said, now, who is going to be in charge of such a beautiful world, like the Pearl of Africa? Now, human nature, the stakeholders of the environment. Now, when we are still young, we are dividing them into two, animals and plants. But now scientists divide them into 5 kingdoms. Animalia, plant, those are plants, fungi, monera or bacteria, and protista. Now, when you understand this, you'll know the dangers of not being the stewards of the environment. The protista, where we have the protozoa which cause malaria. And you build in wetlands. You produce your very nice children, and you take them and they stay in wetlands where God created mosquitoes to stay. Typhoid organisms like bacteria, He had stored them in the wetlands. You build your beautiful home in the wetland. Your mother comes from the village, from a hill. He comes to town, you are taking him to Mulago in a wetland. The disease he came with, it might be blood pressure. Now he adds on malaria in the wetland. That's already a terrible situation. The stakeholders of the environment, God had placed them in their correct environments. I was talking about bacteria or monella, the plants, the fungi. Fungi is the one which causes, like the mushrooms are fungi. The one which causes ulum, you all know that. Those are the fungi. They were all created to stay in their proper environments. We have the pangolin, which we said was keeping the virus which caused the pandemic of COVID. People are now not stewards of the environment. They eat everything. Even the pangolin, They destroy the forest. The monkey they eat. Now those organisms, they start looking for somewhere else to stay, like the virus. Now they start looking for somewhere else to stay, like human beings. The current epidemic, which is, Bruno, you can remind me, the current epidemic in Mubende.
Ebola outbreak.
The Ebola outbreak is caused by a virus which is supposed to live in monkeys. But now, eating carelessly, you don't spare anything. For me, I'm from Chimakilan, we spare the monkeys. So Ebola cannot attack us. But people eat carelessly, eat monkeys, they destroy the forests, and the monkeys now start living among us people. I have a mango tree, and my children really love to see the monkey come and feast on the mango tree. But they are still in boarding now. I'm going to tell them, please, when this monkey comes, even if it is your Simbo clan, don't go near it. They have nowhere to live. We have destroyed the forest completely. In Wachiso district, by the time the colonialists we don't like went, it was full of forests. And for me, I used to come from Wera and go to Namugongo. There were animals which were crying all the night called Buyoga. They are no longer there, which were harboring most of these viruses. So, destroying the environment is very obvious. Every trouble you see with human nature now is destroying the environment. You see mad politicians, they have nowhere to go and relax. Because when the brain is, you are tired, you are supposed to go and pass through the forest and relax at least once every day. At least 20 minutes, you have to walk through a forest. But politicians don't care about the environment. The list is endless, but the most obvious one. Me, I grew up without seeing anyone with the cancer of the breast. Bruno, have you seen people with the breasts which have cancer?
Yes.
How frequent by the time you were born and now? Compare.
It's much more prevalent these days.
I see a lot of people whose breasts are half. And the cause is the pollution, chemical pollution is. Chemical pollution. Some chemicals have been burnt in America, like a Roundup. We are using it now. And they say it causes cancer. It causes cancer of the breasts. Some, there are some drinks we take, I don't want to mention them. They are carcinogens, they cause cancer. And we are taking them. The pollution of the environment, human nature. There is a writer, when I was, I'm a teacher by profession, when I was learning biology at Chambogo University, there is a writer called Kent. He said, among the most dangerous stakeholder of the environment, you don't need to go to the zoo and think that the lion is the most dangerous, or the elephant. You just look in the mirror, and this is the most dangerous organism on planet Earth. Just go to the mirror. Look there. You will know the most dangerous stakeholder of the environment. And yet is the one God made the steward of the environment. And the environment affects him most. And the world now is at tipping point. Tipping point, there's what we call carrying capacity. What you can carry. I heard that in 1 year, the world has increased by 1 billion.
Yes, we are now at 8 billion in terms of population.
In terms of population. We are beyond carrying capacity. And we are destroying the environment. Where are we going to stay? Are we going to create oxygen? When you cut the forest like President Bolsonaro is doing, I don't know whether environment protection is related with politics. I don't know. Because Kawanga Semogere was a deep and green color is the symbol. Maybe that democracy is related with protecting the environment. Because Bolsonaro in Brazil has allowed people to cut forests, that Amazon forest. and it produces 20% of the oxygen we breathe. 20% is a very big percentage. Now Amazon is under destruction. That's why you see a lot of asthma, breathing problems. When that period, you see there was a fire in Australia which swept across Australia and other forests in the world, because when carbon dioxide is much, you see there is a circle. When there are many plants in a place, they absorb carbon dioxide from the air, because that's how they make their food. And when they absorb this carbon dioxide, they prevent the world from global warming, because carbon dioxide goes in the air and it creates a layer which reflects back the heat to the earth. But when the plants are there, the forests, they take the carbon dioxide and give us the oxygen. For them, they use carbon dioxide in the photosynthesis process, you all know. They give us the oxygen and they take the carbon dioxide to make carbohydrates. It is as simple as that. So, if human nature does not plant trees and cut the forests, we are endangering ourselves. A world without enough oxygen, God gave us for free. The wetlands which we used to have forests, and I had, I'll never forget this very important person in the church. That's where this point comes in, environmental education challenges. Because even the church is the institution which cares so much for the environment. But we have just realized that environment is very important. So when we were on an occasion, he was a great friend of my wife, and now he's a retired, a very important person. But he said, hey, this is very great. Where there was papyrus and water, now there are buildings. And he's one of the most important people in the church, in the religion institutions, and is still alive. But the problem was environmental education is lacking. We shall come to that later. So that is the problem. People don't know how important the environment is to us. And they are doing very obvious things to destroy it, to destroy themselves. When you destroy the environment, you have destroyed yourself. When you hurt the environment, be in the darkness, you are not seen, you carry soil in the night and dump in your site in the wetland, you are destroying yourself. Because in the wetland, all the shit people now, some don't have toilets, they use flying toilets, and it's rain, it takes it down to where you are dumping your soil to build a house. Your child is going to come and start playing with that flying toilet, and immediately goes and eat. Children don't clean their fingers very soon. So, cholera will start from there. Dysentery, typhoid. I'm telling you, every suffering you saw in human nature is because of not respecting the environment. Every problem, you relate it to environmental degradation. Bruno, I think you believe what I said.
It is very true, and we are seeing a lot of effects of environmental degradation in our country today. I read an article where the author of the article was talking about how the human mind, especially when it comes to problems of mental illness, is related to our environment. And the experts who wrote that article, health experts, were saying that when it comes to the human mind, the human mind or the human body is calmed by being next to water, or hearing water, or being just on water. So for instance, being at the beach or being on a lake or in the ocean can help give peace to the mind. And so there are a lot of health experts who have come up with a treatment for people who are dealing with issues like depression or mental illness or anxiety. And that treatment is you go for an expedition. That is, you go on a boat and they just take you through water, through the ocean, and you can even go deep diving and see fish and see how nature underwater is transpiring. And there have been good results. Some patients of depression coming to say that it helps them feel better, it helps them feel happier, and it gives them strength for the next day. So you can see how the environment is linked to our health and linked to our living, apart from the fact that the environment feeds us, but the environment also gives us health. And in that report, in that article, it was also said that people who live in areas where there are trees, where there are forests or near water bodies are much healthier than people who live in cities with just buildings and no trees or no water at all. So you can see that there is a strong link between the environment and our health. So that's why we are talking about the impact of environmental pollution, because it has a very disastrous impact upon our health. You've heard before the break how our guest Mr. Kigundu was talking about how things like cancer, things like flooding are related with environmental degradation. So we need to curtail those human activities that destroy the environment. But the question is, now that we are at a place where many of our forests have been cut down here in Uganda, what is the way forward? What is the solution? So Mr. Kigundu, how can we restore our environment to ensure that the future generation is catered for?
When, in fact, I was almost, my lecturers were almost saying the topic I'm handling is a bit difficult when I was doing my master's. And this is the book. It says the challenges of, this is the report from the research, from Uganda Management Institute. The challenges of environment education policy implementation in Wakiso district in Uganda, the case of Kajanstown Council. It was a passion. The topic was almost being rejected by my lecturers. But my passion was environment. And I said I must research about the environment. I'm going to spend here about 15 million. Studying other common subjects, because I'm a teacher, people are doing education management. I said, this is, people are not care, even lecturers are not aware that what is important now, what is the emergency? The emergency is environmental protection or restoration, because it is the environment is a tipping point. We have destroyed it to the maximum, and it is an emergency. That's why I spent over 15 years. I said, no, I'm going to do challenges of environmental education. So that's where the problem started. When I was doing it, there is a DPC who was one of my participants when I was doing the research, who I interviewed. He had come from Kalamoja. I won't mention his name. He said, wow, I've been waiting for you. In Kalamoja, it is becoming a desert. No one is telling people to plant trees. You see? No one is telling them. The message is not there. And when I left his, I was to interview him a second time. And when I came, he had not yet arrived. So I sat in another office of another big officer. When I talked about wetlands, the other officer surprised me. He said, no, wetlands cannot be there when people are not building, when they are there doing nothing. You see the contradiction? The other one was well informed. This one was not, and was the implementer. The DPC is very rare. I don't know. It was not the DPC. No, I don't want to. But he was the DPC, okay, let me mention him. He was very concerned about the environment. But the other one second in command, and who is supposed to implement, was saying, why do we leave wetlands there? We can build in them, and you can't leave them there when they are free. That is what he was saying. And it is not a blame, simsangu. The problem is the stakeholders have not done enough to make the people aware that the environment is very important. We depend on it, so we must protect it. That was the problem, and that is the problem we should consider, making everyone aware. And we use adequate environment education. The message should reach. Like when I was researching in my master's, I'm continuing with my PhD, I'm continuing with this one. I'm saying, why is it the government using entertainment? Because when I was searching, it is called edutainment. The youth, which is 70% of the population, wants entertainment. Why don't we pass this message through entertainment? So this time the topic will be challenges of using entertainment or edutainment for adequate environmental education. Because we are really failing to educate the population. Our elders, we call them ancestors, they were not very educated. They had no PhDs, they had no masters, they had no diplomas, not even P7. But they were caring for the environment. This is why they introduced clans, so that you don't eat it discriminately. Whatever you come across, you eat it. Some of them, the names were papyrus, so that we spare the papyruses. Some of them, the names were Chisenyi, so that we spare. When your name is Chisenyi, you really spare the Chisenyi, you don't destroy it. There are more understanding. I don't know. But when I was doing my research, I was told that in the kingdoms around, there were, what were they called? They were peoples of the king who were educating people about being brave, about women not losing their virginity before marriage, about protecting the environment. These people were training the communities about the most important thing for life. I don't know. These people got to know that. And yet, as we call ourselves educated, we don't educate the nation or our children about the importance of the environment. So that's where the problem is. I've told you a big person in the religion, very big. Now he's retired. I know you can't watch this TV, but I won't mention him. I got real. I said, why hasn't he been educated in the church about the environment?
So are you saying that the issue, one of the solutions is to educate, to give awareness to the public on the importance of the environment? Awareness.
Because when I was doing my research for masters, I went to that behind Parliament. There's an office for the president. When I reached there, there is a post about the big man on the wall. There is nothing about the environment. When you go to the barracks, someone can take you to visit there. There is no message about the environment. And in Wakiso district, most people who damage the wetlands are from the army, protected by the guard. It is not because I don't know how we say it in English. Don't convict them. It is you to be convicted. Why haven't you educated them? Have you changed their mind completely to be positive about the environment? They're not well educated.
So you're saying one of the ways we can improve this education is using edutainment.
Environmental education, but the best way could be edutainment. Edutainment through entertainment. Otherwise, you can't tell a man who is putting on, who is a 4-star and is pouring, is dumping in the wetland to build. You can't tell him stop building. Even one KLC5 fears them because they are not aware of what they are doing.
So apart from education, what other solutions are there when it comes to restoring our environment?
Really, I want to keep my scope at adequate environmental education because it is intuitive. It comes from within. And if you are taking a team for competition, like a kata team, and it is not well trained, then you are taking it to, it played with the Ecuador?
Yes.
So, if you have not improved their capacity to handle, especially mentally, to handle, of course they will be beaten. They will not achieve what you want. So, me, I'm keeping my scope at an educative message in every institution. And charity begins at home. From home, the children should, the parents and the leaders in the community should start conditioning the mind. And you see, for us teachers, you know that learning is permanent change in behavior. If we don't educate the people to have a permanent change in behavior, to be positive about the environment, to know that all our suffering now comes from the environment, then the rest is nothing. Because you see, I don't want to be political, but the leaders, when it is about 1 year to the elections, they stop talking about environment degradation because most of the people, voters, are in wetlands. Now, when it is about a long time, about 5 years for elections, then they talk about the environment. But when the time is burning for elections, they don't. Like a mayor I voted, he was very serious about the environment. I told him who was dumped here. This place is a wetland. Why are they building there? He said, but Mr. Weraga, those are my voters. Someone I voted because he's an environmental activist. But now he's a mayor and he wants to be next mayor. When he told me, those are my voters, I used to call him, I wish he hears this, we might be together in the valley. I used to call him almost every week and combat. Now he's in my enemy because I'm passionate about the environment. When we are on barriers, I used to go and sit here, and now I don't. Because he no longer cares about the environment. He cares about votes.
So in this edutainment or in this education, what's the best strategy in terms of what message should the stakeholders be putting forward when it comes to the environment and environmental degradation?
We must educate them with a single objective of changing their mind, their brain and behavior to have a green behavior tendency. For example, when you go to supermarket and they are giving you 2 apples in a polythene paper, 2 packets of coffee in another polythene paper, you have a kilogram of meat in another polythene paper, where are you going to drop it? Why don't we put it in one polythene paper so that we spare the spreading of this material which spends 500 years in the soil? Why don't you say, no, I will take on one polythene paper? Or why doesn't he ask the supermarket man, don't you have a paper? Don't you have a paper bag? Because it can be destroyed. So, in this edutainment, we should tell them the consequences of destroying the environment. Alletho, the world is a tipping point. Now, when I don't want to be very academic, but because it is a research I carried for 2 years, it must be helpful in managing. I hinged my research on two laws. When I say theory, people don't understand it. Scientifically, a theory is something which has been experimented, and they have proven that when you do this, this one happens. So this word in research should change and become a law. I based my research on two laws. One was path dependence theory. Humanity, even human nature does not human nature, organisms don't change their behavior unless they are forced to. In simple terms, I have a friend who was a presidential candidate. But when I visited his school, it was in a wetland. Another acre was in a wetland. When he took me to Gayaza, it was in a wetland. So that's what we call path dependence. If your father pours damp soil in the wetland to build there, and you stay there, you know that people build in the wetland. You, the child, and you do the same. That is what is meant by path dependence. Unless there is something which stops you from such a behavior. And I believe that it is adequate environmental education. Charity begins at home. If you spend most time at family TV, there should be something about the environment, about how Roundup causes cancer of the breasts, how some chemicals we take causes prostate cancer. The message should be everywhere, where you stay most of your time. In the markets, there should be message about the environment. It can be a celebrity who got breast cancer, and they put him there as a message, something of that nature. That was one law. The second one was theory of planned behavior. In the message, this one has three branches. One, consequences. In the message, there should be consequences of destroying the environment. Two, what will other person think about me in my community? If I do this, it should be about community. What will other people think about me? The other one was the resources should come to handle. It should be almost government should make. It is not a priority of government, environmental protection. It's not government's priority. So government must make it a priority to educate the community about the environment, the only way through. Because you plant forests, and another, when you're out of power, someone will come and cut them. Because his mind is not positive about the environment.
We must prioritize the environment. Thank you so much, Mr. Erisa, for telling us about the importance of protecting our environment. And thank you for joining us on Issues at Hand this morning. Now, it's imperative that as parents, we pass this message on to our children and teach them about the importance of the environment and the consequences of environmental degradation so that we can save the environment, Mother Earth that takes care of us. But remember, it is a calling from God as well that we must be good stewards of the planet and of the earth that he has given us. And so let's go on to do that as well. It's time for us to go and take some coffee, after which we shall get into the farm with Brenda Mahoro. Ciao and God bless you.